Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Sweden once again, and this is another brewery who I've never actually reviewed anything from, but I have tried some of their beers on tap. So for this one we're going to head to Hyllie, which is just a little bit to the south of Malmö, right next to where the Öresund Bridge connects to Sweden of course, and we're going to visit the Hyllie Bryggeri for the first time on the channel. So this beer is called Hyllipan. It comes in at 6.5%, it's an IPA as you might have guessed, and it is hopped with Citra and Mosaic, which I guess you could say are two of the kind of classic American IPA hops. So definitely looking forward to this one. I think the beer that I tried from these guys on tap was actually a darker beer, like a stout or something like that. So I'm looking forward to trying one of their lighter beers, because I do remember enjoying the dark one. So as always, I hope you guys enjoy my take on this. And it is always cool to introduce you guys to kind of new Swedish breweries as well. I always like doing that with the Swedish and Scottish breweries, of course. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Hyllie Bryggeri. Very first time I'm reviewing one of their beers, like I said. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you before. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyways, tell you a little bit about Hyllie Bryggeri then. So as I've mentioned to you before, these guys are based in Hyllie, just to the south of Malmö, and it started off as the home brewing experiments of Michael Nathorst, who's from Vintrie, which is a little bit to the south of Hyllie, and I do apologise if I'm butchering any of these pronunciations, by the way. It usually takes me once or twice to remember the Swedish pronunciations. But for a number of years he was a home brewer, and he built up his own brewery in his garage, and this is where he experiments with various different kinds of beer along with his friends. And he said that he started brewing there around 2013, but he'd been interested in beer for a long period of time before that, and he has worked for a number of years in the plumbing industry as well. There was a point when he was working 4 days as a plumber and then 1 day with the brewery as well, but he's also good friends with Torsten Ekne, who was the original owner of Beer Ditch in Malmö, although they've actually sold that. The Ekne family have sold it to a Danish chef, I believe, by the name of Håkansson. So you will actually maybe see some more food and things in there, but Beer Ditch will remain as it is apparently. But when Beer Ditch actually opened up back in 2015, Michael decided to register the Hyllie Bryggeri as an official company and got it going. He basically geared up his brewery in his garage to be a proper kind of small commercial brewery, and he got the company officially registered, and now of course they are in Systembolaget, and I think that must be very recent, because I don't remember seeing these beers. This one I picked up at the Hansa store in Malmö, and I don't remember seeing them the last time I was over there, so that must be in the last couple of months that the Hyllie beers have actually appeared in there. But they're supposed to be really good. As I say, I had a good experience with the stout that I tried before. Most of these beers are actually sold in the Malmö area, although some of them do make it across the strait to Denmark, and they do have, he does say he has plans to actually rent out a bigger brewery so these beers can be brewed at a bigger volume as well. Maybe do some contract brewing, or he might just kind of to do it himself or something and use it as a kind of gypsy brewing type thing. But it's really, really cool. He'll have his small brewery for small batches, and then his more popular beers he'll be able to brew them on the bigger scale. At the moment, from what I understand, I'm filming this review for you on the 21st of February 2018. At the moment, from what I understand, they are only bottling 2 beers. One of them I'm sure was a wheat beer or a wheat beer, and then they've got this one, which is the one that I picked up in Systembolaget as well. But they do various other keg beers. Most of them you'll find at the tap room in Malmö, or at Beer Ditch of course. Bishop Arms I think do have them, the different Bishop Arms in Malmö, and some of the other bars as well might have them, and like I say, some of the places in Copenhagen might have a few of them as well. But that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. I'll add more to my brewery notes as they kind of age and things like that, as I always like to do, and hopefully I can review a few more beers from these guys in the fairly near future. But if you want to learn a little bit more, check out the brewery website in the description below. I got most of that information actually from a newspaper article from the Hyllie newspaper, which was pretty cool. But yeah, I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this one. This of course is the kind of landmark for Hyllie. It's this, I think this is a water tower, if I'm remembering correctly. It's next to the big shopping centre. The name of that eludes me at the moment, but one of the biggest shopping centres in Scandinavia is at Hyllie, and it's right next to the train station as you go through. Hyllie, of course, is the last train station in Sweden before you head over to Denmark, or the first as you come over the border, whichever way you're going. But yeah, nicely presented. This one, quite simple artwork, but quite effective, I would say. Tells you on the back here, it's a fruity IPA in West Coast style, and we've made a different version of this one, but after making different versions of this beer, we landed at we decided on dry hopping with Citra for citrus and mosaic for the tropical fruits, and drink this one very fresh. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it is quite fresh, this one. Plain bottle cap on this. So without further ado then, let's get it open there. I'm surprised at how fast my Swedish translation was there. Sometimes it takes me a little bit, especially when I've not been speaking Swedish for a little while actually. But yeah, let's get this guy out and get on with the tasting. Well, I'm saying a little while, but I was speaking Swedish last week actually. So yeah, as you can see with this one, and as you would expect from an IPA, it's poured a really nice kind of bright yellowy orange colour. There's a there's a finger and a little bit of a solid kind of cream coloured head on this one. Very, very frothy head, not bumpy at all really. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head. If I put my fingers behind it, you can see it's not really transparent at all. This beer is quite opaque, and as I say, I think it's fair to describe the colour as more of a yellowy orange, a yellowy amber than anything else, but you can really smell some of these lovely hoppy notes of it. The Citra just jumps out at you right away with this beer, and you can get a little bit of that tangerine orange as well. But let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. Yeah, that actually smells really quite nice. Yeah. So with this one, as you'd expect from the Citra, there's a good bit of mango in there. You can smell a little touch with this one. You can smell a little touch of that grapefruit character, that darker grapefruit aroma. I always struggle to describe these grapefruit and passion fruit notes, but I just always find they're a little bit darker and less juicy than the sort of lighter tropical notes, like mangoes and things. But yeah, definitely a bit of mango with this one. When you take it in a little bit more deeply, I'm finding that's when the tangerine orangey notes are coming out, and of course they're coming from the mosaic. And you can definitely pick up a little bit of the pineapple from the mosaic as well. Like the mosaic always gives you a tangerine orange at the start, but then as it mellows out a little bit, you start to get pineapple. I'm not picking up so much the lychees and kind of lemon limey notes that you can get from the Citra. It's mainly the mangoes that are coming out from the Citra in this one. I think the mosaic, for the most part, I think the Citra's kind of dominating the nose a little bit, but then when you take it in a bit more deeply, that's when you start to get the mosaic-y notes. But of course with this one, you've got a little bit of floral quality. For me, it leans a little bit more towards the kind of grassy side of things on that part of the hop. And underneath, you can smell a little bit of the sort of bready, biscuity malt with this one. Yeah, it definitely has a sort of bready presence to it. That would be the pale malt, I would think. Probably they have put pale malt in this. They say on the bottle actually there's a little bit of wheat malt as well in this one. But yeah, there's a little bit of an almost kind of biscuity note as well. So yeah, sort of bready and biscuity notes from the malt base too. When you sugar it up, it does start to become a little bit more kind of grainy and things, and the fruity notes just subside a little bit. So as I always say, just take a little bit. Actually, just take a little bit of time and have it and enjoy the aroma. This one actually says on the bottle here it's brewed at Brggeri, who are up in Landskrona, just to the north of Thingway actually. So that's probably where a lot of these beers will actually be getting brewed. That article that I read must have been a little bit old. But yeah, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one before you get stuck in then. So this one is the Hyllipan, which is an IPA at 6.5% citron mosaic from Hyllie Bryggeri, originally from Hyllie, down near Malmö in Skåne in Sweden. Let's get stuck in. Skål! Yeah, that's pretty nice. I have to say that. In terms of IBUs and things like that, this beer is not going to blow your head off this way. My first impression of this beer is that it's actually like really, really refreshing. That's the first kind of the first thing that comes into my head with this one. As I always say as well, sugar the beer around your palate a little bit and let your whole mouth adjust to it. But it is pretty good, this one actually. For a brewery that's so young actually and just brewed on the small scale, that is, you know, that's pretty impressive, I have to say that. Yeah, so this one, I mean, what I would say about this beer, it's quite simple in what it wants to achieve, but it actually does it pretty well. So the malt base on this one is pretty straight up. You can feel that sort of pale malt, that white bready character just blanket in the middle of your tongue. You can feel that go right across the middle of your palate. In the middle of your palate, There's a teeny tiny little bit of a biscuity quality. It maybe gets a little bit thicker because of the wheat malt and stuff like that. But otherwise it's pretty straight up, and you can feel the graininess as the beer, as your kind of mouth adjusts to this beer a little bit. The sweeter aspect of the malt just dies out, and that's a little bit of that kind of grainy quality just starts to come out. In the back corners of the palate, onto the hoppy side of this beer then, the back corners of the palate, there's a teeny little bit of earthiness, but as you come forward along the sides of your tongue, with this one it does have quite a nice dark and almost spicy floral aromatic note to it. I do like it's got when the beer mellows out a bit and your mouth adjusts to it, you do get a little bit more IBU out of this beer. It just, when you're actually taking it in, it just takes your mouth a little bit of time to adjust to that. But I'm saying in the beginning, it's not going to blow your head off in terms of IBUs. I think that's definitely a fair statement, but the IBUs for me do actually grow in this one as your mouth adjusts to it. You've got a nice dark, almost spicy floral aromatic note to this beer, and then round the front curve of the tongue, it just gets a little bit lighter and a little bit more grassy. And again, I always find most beers do that. They're a little bit lighter and grassy around the front of the palate. But yeah, that's actually really nice. But just behind the front curve of the palate, as I always say, that's where you get this little oily bubble and these kind of juicy, fruity notes come out of the beer. With this one, it's quite interesting. There's definitely a little bit of that kind of darker grapefruit there. You can feel that just underpinning the beerness. But the mangoes and the tangerines are almost like competing for the kind of... for the sort of front row seat, if you like, when it comes to this beer. It's quite interesting. Yeah, it's really nice because the mangoes come in at the start. As I say, that little bit of grapefruit's there. Mangoes come in at the start, and then it just evolves a little bit and becomes a little bit more tangerine-y, kind of orangey, and then as the flavour progresses, you've seen how long it was since I took a sip of this beer, the pineapples start to come out a little bit more. And you do start to get really, when you get a little bit further away from that initial kind of attack on the tongue, if you like, you do start to get a little bit of the kind of lychee and kind of lemon limey notes that you expect at the Citra hop as well. This one's really interesting because you can pick up all these different parts of the two hops. The Mosaic and the Citra, of course, are two, I find them to be two of the more complex hops that you can get in IPAs. That's probably why I chose them, of course, in this beer. But it's interesting because it's just interesting because you think, oh, that's, you know, it goes kind of like Citra, Mosaic. It just kind of jumps around between these two hops, which is really quite interesting for me. I just like how that flavour kind of comes and goes. Like, it definitely starts off a little bit more Citra. The Mosaic comes out and stays for a little while, and then it kind of goes back to the Citra a little bit, which is quite interesting. I do like the way that the fruity character lingers on this. In the aftertaste, it's definitely a bit of that darker floral note sitting there, and though the fruity notes in this are quite strong, and I do like that as well, I have to say. It's 6.5%, you know, it doesn't show its alcohol warmth. The malt base in this one is quite simple, which is good. It does definitely lean more towards the hoppy, bitter side of things, this beer. So I have to say a thumbs up to them for this one. I do like that. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. I just wish it was a little bit more widely available. I've only ever seen it in the Hansa store in Malmö. It would be cool if it was a bit more widely available throughout Skåne and things like that. So hopefully they can get their volume up a little bit and get them to the Lund stores and things like that, so I can buy them a little bit more regularly. But I just saw it and remembered I tried one of their beers before and thought this would be a cool one to review. In terms of the mouthfeel then, definitely mid-bodied. I would say it's mid-bodied. Carbonation on this one is actually quite crisp. I think this beer does have a good bit of a crisp mouthfeel to it. There's a little bit of an oily quality to it as the beer kind of mellows out, but I would say it's quite a wet and crisp mouthfeel that this one has. Good bit of hoppy bitterness. Malt base on this one is kind of smooth, but it has a little bit of grainy quality to it. It's not the smoothest malt base you're going to come across, but then again, the whole thing leans more towards the hoppy bitter side of things. It's not, as I say, it's not going to blow your head off in terms of IBUs, but the whole beer, I would say, leans a little bit more towards the hoppy bitter side of things. But it's nicely done that, and I do like how it does that. And there's a good bit of fruity character to this one. It's quite a strong fruity presence that this one has in my mind. So yeah, if you like that, if you like the Citra and the Mosaic hop, you are going to enjoy this one. And for me, I quite liked how this one shows you the components of both at different points. So it's a really quite interesting beer, this one. And you know, if this is the first beer that they're putting in Systembolaget Lager, you have to say well done to them. And I'm sure over time they'll start to play around with recipes and things a little bit more. But for now, this is a really pretty good beer, and I would recommend that you have a go at it. It's a really pretty solid IPA, and for a young brewery like this, you know, it's not, you can't really ask for much more than that. So yeah, a big thumbs up to Hyllie Bryggeri for this one. And when you're using two of the best kind of known hops as well, and to do it that well, if you like, I think that's a good sign for things to come from these guys. So yeah, I definitely look forward to reviewing more of their beers for you in the future. So yeah, hopefully you'll see a few more videos at some point soon. But yeah, I think that's a good way to kind of sign off on this one. A really solid IPA from quite a young brewery, and that's a very encouraging thing to see. The standard of beers that are coming out from Sweden and Denmark, Scandinavia generally these days, is pretty damn high, and when you're getting new breweries popping up like this, that's always a good sign. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Do let me know your own thoughts on the different beers you've tried from this brewery as well, because most of their beers have been released on cask and things so far. But do let me know your favourite ones and things in the description below. Let me know your own thoughts on this. Check out my social media and all this kind of thing, and I will catch you guys very soon. This was the Hyllipan from Hyllie Bryggeri from Hyllie, just to the south of Malmö in Skåne in southern Sweden. Slange just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. Skål.